Alright guys, so what we're going to do here today is a very simple video of how to clean and lubricate your Glock pistol. This is going to apply for most striker fired guns, but it's geared towards Glocks. This is a Glock 22, but it will apply to any of the Glock series of guns. Basically what you're going to need is some CLP, which I have here in a bottle. If you want to use a separate cleaner and lubricant, that's fine. You're going to need some patches, which is what I have here, an old cut up shirt, but you can buy patches if you like. A toothbrush, some sort of pointing device, whether or not you want to use an old coat hanger or whatever, that's fine. This is a polymer cleaning tool. The reason you use polymer is if you use metal, that's fine, but what you want to do is you want to make sure you use a soft metal, so that way you're not scratching into the surface of the gun and the barrel rod that you get from Glock with your pistol. You can use the brush as well if you'd like to. I generally don't, but for those of you guys out there that are shooting lead, make sure you use that as well as a specific solvent to get that lead out, because it will cause problems in your Glock if you don't. Alright, as always, you verify the chamber is empty. Look in. Look for empty chamber. Point the trigger in a safe direction. Point the gun in a safe direction, excuse me. Pull the trigger. And we're going to pull the slide back about 1/8 of an inch. Pull down on the slide lock. Remove it. Take your spring out. We're going to set that to the side. Take your barrel out. And that's your field strip gun. You generally shouldn't have to go any more broken down than this. If you do, I do have a detail strip video out there for the Glock series of pistols. Alright, we're going to work on the slide first. Set these off to the side. I'm going to take our CLP and with the weapon oriented down, so if the barrel is pointing down, we're going to spray just a little bit of CLP up in here and down by the barrel. And now, the reason we did that, guys, is when you're cleaning the breech face here of the Glock, the striker fire pistol, you want to make sure the weapon is pointing down, so that way as we're brushing in here, which is what you want to do, brush in there, get all that dirt and carbon. You're going to brush up on the breech face, and you want to make sure your gun's pointed up, so that way any debris doesn't fall into the striker channel and get it all gunked up. And you want to just brush it around, get that CLP around, let it work in there, get in the rails here of the pistol. That's very important up here around the barrel and where the spring goes into place, goes into the slide, I should say. And we're going to set that off to the side. Alright, next we're going to grab the barrel and just spray some CLP all around. Make sure you get here on the locking lugs. And we're going to work the same thing all around the edge, outside of the barrel, I should say, with CLP. Again, guys, if you're using cleaner, that's fine. Use your cleaner. Make sure you get in there. Make sure you get in the locking lugs. No gunk in there. Make sure you get on the feed ramp here of the barrel. And I like to set that off to the side. Next up, for the spring, the recoil assembly, all you do is, I already have some CLP on my hands. Some people like to spray it in there, that's fine, but we're going to wipe this down here in a minute. So I'm just going to set that off to the side. And here's the frame. What I do is I just spray back here on the trigger housing assembly, spray in there, and then down here in the dust cover. And we're going to work it all around, get that carbon out. Make sure when you're brushing, you want to make sure you get on the rails here, because that's a place that carbon likes to build up. Get all around any kind of little hole or gap you see in the frame. Brush in there, make sure you get some CLP in there so it starts breaking down that carbon. And we're going to brush it all around. And we're going to set that off to the side. Alright, now we're just going to wipe off all the surfaces that we just got covered in CLP, so wipe the outside of the barrel. We're going to make sure we get in the locking lug again, because that's a dirty, dirty spot. And all the little crescents in here where the recoil spring gets, make sure you work it in there with your fingers. If you want to use your plastic tool, that's fine to work in there. Just the whole outside, we're going to get that all cleaned up. And you keep doing that until it's as clean as you want to be, and your little patch is as clean as you want it to be. I'm going to set it aside right now. We're going to fast forward to it already being clean though. We're going to do the same thing here in the frame, or correction, the slide. We're going to work it around with our fingers, and we're going to get to our tool here in just a second. But you just want to get off all the big stuff. And now with our polymer rod here, we're going to make sure we work the patch in the slide here on the sides of it where the rail goes in there, because that's the spot that is very dirty, generally speaking. And we're going to work in all the crevices here in the slide. If you guys have a 34 or 35 series gun, or some of the other L series guns with the longer slides that have a hole, it's the same thing. You just have to work in here a little bit more. But anywhere that CLP is, what we're going to do, our cleaner, if you will, is we're just going to try to wipe it all up, paying particular attention to the rails, as well as the other place we want to get is the breech face. Again, you always want to point it down so that anything you're wiping off isn't going in there. Also guys, place you want to make sure you're cleaning is right in here on the extractor hook. Carbon likes to get built up in there, and we're going to go ahead and just clean that off real quick. Make sure we get at least one good pass in there to get all that off. Again, you just keep cleaning until your patch is as clean as you say it should be, which I say is pretty clean. And we're going to set that aside and pretend we're already there. Going back to the barrel, one thing I forgot to mention is we're going to take a patch. You can do this at any time. A lot of guys like to do this first, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Spray it with some CLP or cleaner, and we're just going to push it through and then set it out to the side. And what you got to do is you got to just keep pushing that through until it comes out clean. I'm not going to do that here on video just to save time, but I'm pretty sure most of you guys can imagine what that looks like. Again, if you want to use the brush, have at it. In general, I've found that I don't need to do that. If you guys hear snoring in the background, that's my dog. Ignore him. Alright guys, back to the frame. What we're going to do here on the frame is the same thing that we did here on the slide. We're just going to work our cleaning patch all the way around, again making sure to focus here on the rails because that carbon likes to stick in there a good bit. And any kind of hole you have, like in here where the trigger with trigger bar is, any kind of place you can stick in there with your cleaning assembly or your cleaning tool, whatever that is, make sure you get in there and keep wiping up all that CLP that went in there. Now when you're back here on the cruciform, which is this little cross looking thing, you don't really want to push around in there too much because the spring's down there and there's certain things that theoretically you probably could damage. If you guys watch the detail strip video, or if you detail stripped your guns before, you know how everything works in there. So you can probably be a little more, I don't want to say forceful, it's not the right word, but get in there a little bit more aggressively because you know what's going on. But if you don't know what's going on and you're just a new Glock shooter, no need to really push in there too hard. And again guys, we're just going to keep doing exactly what we did, wiping in, getting in those crevices until these parts come out clean. And what we're going to do right now through the magic of editing is we're going to come back and the gun will be clean. And then we're going to go over lubrication. Alright, lubrication's up next. Alright guys, through the magic of editing we have a clean gun. Like I said, just keep pushing those patches around and wiping it down until the gun is clean and carbon free, relatively speaking. I'm going to get into lubrication. I'm going to read this straight out of the Glock Armorer's Manual, and what it's talking about is, I'm going to zoom in here for you, is the connector right here, where the connector meets the trigger with trigger bar. That's the area it's talking about. And what it says is most important is the one drop of oil placed just under the connector hook right here. Any lubricant placed here will move down the connector and where the trigger bar meets. This area, if this area is not properly lubricated, the result may be a hard trigger pull that can lead to connector and or trigger with trigger bar damage. That's true. The only real time I've ever seen a Glock go down is when it has connector issues. Either aftermarket connectors that break, or it's just completely dry. And it will run dry for a while, but not forever. So what we're going to do here guys is we're going to take our CLP and lubricate the parts that Glock recommends we lubricate. Where that is right here in the slide where the barrel runs in there. Put one drop of oil or CLP or whatever lubricant you so choose. And then right here on the rails, guys, what I'm going to point to is right here in the rails and right here in the rails. And we're going to let that lubricant kind of drip down there. So one drop, and it'll run down. That'll also be moved around when you put the slide back on the frame. Here's the most important drop. So we'll zoom in there for you right on the connector. And we just put it right on the connector where it meets up, and that's it. Also for the barrel, right here on the locking lugs, where we're going to put it is right in here, where this spot right here. So we're going to put the one drop there. And we're also going to put it on the barrel hood, which is right here. And just one drop here in the barrel, and I work that around with my hands. If you guys have the wear marks like you see here on my pistol, one way to minimize that is just properly lubricating it there. And that's it. That's your lubricated Glock pistol. Now we put it back together and put the recoil spring in there and the little half moon cutout. And we're going to put the slide on there. And we're going to work around. Make sure we're getting that lubrication in there. And we're going to pull the trigger, make sure it is operating properly when we put it together properly. Back the slide, release. Trigger goes out, we're good to go. What I always do is just go ahead and wipe the outside of the gun down with kind of an oily rag. And work the action a few more times. The reason for doing that is sometimes there'll be excess oil or COP that comes into the trigger. It runs down out of the frame, and just wipe that up. One thing to always keep in mind as well, guys, is in that magazine well, you want to make sure that's free of oil. So a lot of times I just push it in there, one from the bottom, one from the top. Make sure there's no oil in the magazine well, and that's it. That's your properly lubricated, clean Glock pistol. I know it seems simple for a lot of guys, but hey, if you're a new shooter and you don't know how to do it, now you do. As always, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. I'll do my best to answer them, and I appreciate you watching. All right, thanks.